The hands of the regime of the Mullahs in Iran is stained with blood. Neither history nor Allah or God Almighty will forgive you for the crimes against humanity that you're committing against your own citizens. Until the women of Iran are free, we are going to stand with you. Jian, Azadi, women, life, freedom.
Women, life, freedom, that rousing speech by Swedish Member of Parliament in the European Parliament, Abir-Al-Sahlani, has caught the world's attention, and we'll be talking to her in moments from now. I'm Barkhadat, you're with the Mojo Story. These images of the Member of Parliament lopping her hair off to show solidarity with Iran's women who have been burning the hijab and cutting their hair, demanding equal rights with men, protesting, of course, against the enforced hijab and the morality police have caught the world's attention. Abir-Al-Sahlani was born in Iraq. She's now a Swedish Member of Parliament, but her act of revolt and solidarity has got the globe's attention. Those scissors in her hand really say a lot, as she said, about women, life, and freedom. Some words there recognizable, like Azadi, to our audience here in India as well. Let's go across now to Abir-Al-Sahlani, who's been a headline in the global media, and we're really grateful that she's made time for us here in India. That speech went viral here as well, Ms. Sahlani. So I just want to start by asking you, what made you do it?
I have been frustrated, along with many other sisters and many other citizens in the EU, who have been seeing the courage of the Iranian women who have been taken to the streets shouting for their freedom, for their lives, for the right to decide over oneself, for democracy, for basic human rights. And we have also seen that the global leadership, political leadership, have not met that courage of the Iranian women. It's not easy to go out on the streets of Iran and demonstrate against the power of the morality police or the mullahs who are there. It's not an easy thing to do. And they are paying the ultimate price for their freedom. It's with their lives. So my frustration and also my will to show that their voices is also heard in the beacon of democracy, in the only union in the world of democracies, the European Union, that their voices is echoing even there.
You described the regime as the blood-stained regime of mullahs. You urge the EU leadership to do much more than it has. You remind us that Iran's women are quite literally paying with their lives as they take to the streets against the enforced hijab. Why is this campaign so important for women everywhere in the world?
Because unless everyone is free, no one is free. This is a fundamental belief that I have. Unless the women in India are free, I am not free. Unless the women in Iran are free, I am not free, even if I am in Europe. And we see that also in Europe, where you have some of the conservative powers trying to limit women's rights to abortion, try to limit the women's free choice and to decide over her body. These conservative powers are everywhere in the world, and their main target is to limit women's rights and women's access to power and to exercise power. So for me, the fight for equality between genders, for democracy, for human rights, for rule of law is equally important here within the European Union as it is everywhere else in the world.
You're a Muslim woman. There has been a lot of debate about the place of the hijab. There are women who embrace it as an assertion of identity. In Iran, it's the exact opposite. I have been interviewing Iranian activists who say that for them, it is a metaphor, a symbol of mass oppression. How do you see the hijab?
I mean, I do believe that we need to separate religion from the state. I mean, this is a fundamental bottom line for me that I build all my political activity around. The hijab is not the problem. The problem is the force of hijab, or the force to take it off of the hijab. That is the problem, is when you don't give the woman herself the right to choose either way. That is the biggest problem. And once again, men are trying to decide how women dress, how they should be thinking, how they should be walking, how they should be talking, what they eat, what they educate themselves to. That is the main problem, that men think that they have the right to have an opinion about how I dress. And really, they don't have any right in the world to decide about anyone else.
I couldn't agree with you more, but there's also, as you know, and I know that your father was a communist who had to flee Iraq, and more on that in a moment. But as you know, we are all as women products of cultural conditioning. So sometimes when we think we're choosing something, we're not actually making a choice. There's an entire sort of structure of power that has conditioned us to think a certain way. So how do you navigate this debate around choice in the hijab?
Well, actually, navigation, I don't need to navigate because I know what I believe in. What we need, beside giving the women their freedom, that is theirs. We are not giving anything that is over, that is excessive. No, it's their freedom to choose. They should have this right to choose. Is, as I told you, the separation of the religion and the state. That is where you start. Separation, the religion from the educational system that the state is building, but also providing people with social security systems that are worthy their name. So people don't need to look for other solutions. Our many states where you find fundamentalism are actually failing in serving their own citizens. For me, I see that connection very directly. The failure of a state to be its people's servant and the religious extremism. So if you don't address the issue of these states who are failing, I don't think that you can also address the issue of fundamentalism.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. There's a lot of global interest in you. There's a lot of Google searches over who exactly is Abir-Al-Sahlani. I know we have just a couple of minutes with you, but you were born in Iraq. You're now a Swedish member of parliament from a centrist party that's calling for renewing Europe, and you cut your hair on the floor of the European Parliament. But tell us a little bit about what sort of the influence of your home country. How has that influenced your understanding of gender, the rights of women, especially in the Islamic world?
I mean, I'm a daughter of two freedom fighters. It was never about that ideology or this, but above all, it was a fight for freedom. And my dad was jailed in Abu Ghraib before the Western media got to know about it after the fall of the Saddam regime in 2003. He was there for 11 years imprisoned, 3 years in solitary confinement. My mom was alone with me, trying to escape from the Saddam regime, from country to country where they kicked us out. So for me, my fight for freedom, my fight for democracy and rule of law, it's given to me with the milk of my mother. I don't know how to be otherwise than to be a burning fighter for everyone's freedom.
And as we end, a shout out to the women of Iran. This all started with the death of Masha Amini, 22 years old, taken into custody by the so-called morality police. Iran's women are being burning fighters like you, like your mother. Do you believe the world is paying enough attention?
No, I don't believe so, because the world's leaders are still saying that this is peaceful protests. They are not saying that this is a feministic revolution, that this is a fight for equal opportunities, equal rights. It's a fight for human rights. It's a fight for freedom of the women of Iran. It's carried out by them, not anyone else. And if we don't acknowledge that fact, that it is the women who are carrying out this revolution, I don't think that we will do the right things either. We need to start there.
And those three words, women, life, freedom, which of course I think you said in Kurdish.
Yes.
I understood Azadi, I understood Jian, which sounds like Jan, which is life. And I think the first word was Jia. Am I saying it correctly?
Jihad. It's Mahsa's Kurdish name.
Right. So those three words, that invocation to women, life, freedom, as you cut your hair, in the end, tell us about how those three words intersect and are essentially linked.
Yes, exactly. Because, I mean, you cannot pacify 50% of your population and still think that you have a functioning country. I mean, that is just not logic. And you cannot pacify and take the power from 50% of your population and say that, oh, we will be the global leaders of this or that. If you don't have your whole society, if you don't build a state that is inclusive, that guarantees each citizen's rights each citizen's human rights, each citizen's democratic rights, then you don't have anything.
Well, Abir-Al-Sahlani, thank you for making time for us, and thank you. I think what you started has now had copycat moments. It's beginning to have. We saw the Belgian foreign minister take off a strand of her hair today. May many more women do this in solidarity with the brave, absolutely extraordinary women of Iran. Thank you, ma'am. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo's Story and support independent, robust journalism.